Thank you, Jason. I hope you're able to go ahead. I apologize sincerely for your long wait.
Not a problem. I'll try to share my screen, so hopefully this works and the technology doesn't. I haven't used Zoom yet. I normally use Teams, so I'll just bear with me. Everybody able to see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first off, thanks for organizing. Thanks for inviting the transit team here. There's myself, Jason Zimmerman. I'm the supervisor of transit operations and infrastructure, and that kind of oversees quite a lot, but mainly everything to do with the transit service as a whole. We oversee, so the bus stops, the routes, the schedules, the specialized transit service, the fleet. There's a lot under there, technology as well, so that we kind of basically oversee all the things that the public sees on a daily basis as it relates to transit. And on our team here today, I have myself, and then there's Julie McDonald, who's our transit coordinator, who does a lot of work with our specialized and accessibility type stuff, as well as our fleet and bus stops and all the infrastructure that comes with all the bus stops. And we've also invited Robin Menny to join us today, more as an observer. She's our transit planning student and thought she could get some benefit from overseeing this committee. So without further ado, I'll get into the presentation. We haven't presented to the Seniors Advisory Committee now in a couple of years, thanks to COVID. So there's lots to update you on. First, I'll start with some really cool buses driving in. So really, the reason I bring in these two buses is mainly to kind of quickly show you the two types of fleet that we're narrowing it down to. So eventually, those will be the two types of fleet that you'll only see on the road out there in the city, is the style of Nova bus to the right, and the style of cutaway, what we call a cutaway, which is like a shuttle bus to the left. So what's new? Well, there's quite a lot that's been happening over the last couple of years, but to give you some kind of high level update on some of the big things that have come up over the last few years, I've broken it down to things that would kind of impact or be good things to know for the Seniors Advisory Committee, as well as things that just kind of help the general public overall. So we have the new transit terminal that's being built at the Allendale Waterfront GO train station. So tell you a bit about that. And to align with that, there's the Transit Vision project, which is to adjust the transit route service to match up with the relocation of our main hub. There's the Transit on Demand pilot program that launched 2 Augusts ago now, and it's been in the service now coming up on 1.5 years, and it's been doing well. So a bit of an update on that. Our electronic tool, I guess, transit planning tool that the transit users use to get around the city, MyRide. We've added a few things to that. Give you a kind of a overall quick update on the public health measures that we've put in place on transit as it relates to the pandemic. Julie's going to update us on some of the updates that we've seen to the booking software for the specialized transit service, and some of the new, I guess, gadgets, I guess you could call it, that are being used on our buses today, and a bit of an update on the transit fleet. And then last, there's a short update on seniors fairs and some of the things that have happened there. So a lot of people probably have heard about the farmers market downtown and the terminal moving. So yes, that's actually happening. I know it's been a lot of talk for a lot of years, and this is actually happening now. So what we're doing is we're moving our main hub, which is our main transit hub where the majority of all bus routes will go to, over to the Allendale Waterfront GO train station. And there's two big reasons why. The main reason is to better connect us to the GO train services that will be ramping up over the next 10 years or more, so that there'll be more frequency to get people to and from downtown Toronto and the GTA, and to align our services to help people connect better to those services. So there's that, and the other reason was to kind of free up the downtown from the heavy bus traffic, to give it a little less bus traffic, mainly the inner city buses as well that come downtown. Those would all now go to the main hub, and to basically just kind of give a new fresh start to the service. The other thing is, like, the Allendale train station is actually more of the geographic center of our city. As we've grown more to the south, moving the main hub to the south kind of falls in line with that as well. We will still have a decent level of presence in the downtown, as most of our transit riders still need to get downtown on a regular basis. So there'll be what's called a kind of a mini hub, I guess you could say, being built, and that's more to the right here. And keep in mind, all these drawings you're looking at are conceptual. The actual final buildings and infrastructure may look different than what you're seeing here, but to the right is the mini hub. Very conceptual, but basically it's going to be just kind of maybe some heated shelters, long bus bays that will enable the buses to pull over, service that area, and then continue north or south to where they're going. So when you're moving your main hub, your main terminal, think of it like dropping a rock in a pond. There's a pretty big ripple effect, and so the ripple effect kind of hits the whole city as a whole. So, originally we looked at ways to adjust the service to align with the movement of the main terminal. And there was really no way around it, but other than to really adjust everything, and do it in a more strategic approach. So what we've developed is the Transit Vision Project. And what this is three main areas of focus. There's the network plan. So this will be a redesign of the route network that will align with connecting to the new hub. There will be future phases to that network plan that will, add on more service when needed as the city grows. And then there'll be improvements to the bus stop infrastructure to align with that new network plan. So what we do see is more frequent service on certain corridors in the city. And so the infrastructure would need to align with that. So we would need to have improved bus stop infrastructure at stops where you're going to have more people and more frequency and that type of thing. So we have to relocate the routes, look at how they're going to continue to build after that, and then we're going to build physical structures and infrastructure at the stops along those routes where it needs to be. That's kind of the high level explanation of the Vision Project. And again, that will happen in line with the movement of the new terminal when that occurs. The Transit on Demand project, so this launched August of 2020. So yeah, we launched something during COVID, but it was well deserved because it's a part of the service. It enhances the level of service and brings a new type of service to the city that is and this type of service is being done already and in many other transit agencies across North America. So we're just kind of introducing it here. And the main reason why Transit on Demand is doing so well in other cities is because it's really focusing on the service where and when it is needed. So the transit on demand is basically a bus stop to bus stop service that works within a zone. So to the right, you're seeing a map of the zone that we're using right now. And so basically, we launched it in this zone to replace a low performing route that was the Route 11. So you can see the yellow route, Route 11, it no longer exists today. We launched it to basically service the area that Route 11 was servicing, as well as some new coverage areas that are shown in the map. And then about 8 months or so after we launched Transit on Demand, we could see that Transit on Demand was doing really well. We developed confidence in it. And so then we discontinued Route 11. And so now that area is just being serviced by the routes that you can see there, and no longer Route 11. And TOD is kind of picking up the areas where Route 11 used to service. And it's doing well. And it's, considering we're taking a hit to ridership already with COVID, it's keeping up a decent level of ridership and doing well. So our goal is to expand the service to more areas of the city as we grow. So I'll get more into that in a second. But a little bit more about the Transit on Demand. So there's an application that people use to book the service, as well as people can call over the phone and book a trip. So you still have that flexibility to book over the phone or to book through the app. So this is kind of the design of the app, and this is what the app kind of looks like. And then up to the right there's what the button would look like on someone's device if they were to use the app. And then on the streets, this is what the bus stop sign looks like. So it's a different bus stop sign at the stops for Transit on Demand, with some instructions there on how to use the service. So how would we look to expand Transit on Demand in the future? So right away, we're looking at all the growth that we're seeing in the south end of Barrie. You have all these little pockets of subdivisions popping up, and it's difficult to get in there with a conventional service where you have a fixed route service and it needs roadways to get in and out of neighborhoods. So Transit on Demand is really good because you can just have a bus go in there, turn around, pick up somebody, come back out before the whole area is fully developed, as well as new subdivisions, those types of places may not have the demand for a conventional route right away. So it's a way to bring in service into those areas, when it's needed, but in the most efficient way. So it helps us to help service all the new developed areas. So the secondary lands are our first step. Next, we'd be looking at utilizing the Transit on Demand software to be used for our specialized transit service. And so what that would mainly be is not a lot would really be seen to change for the specialized transit clients. The main benefit that they would see, though, is that they wouldn't have to book a week in advance like they do today. They'd be able to book that day or, a couple hours before you go out kind of thing. And you still book over the phone like you do today. So really the biggest benefit to Transit on Demand software in specialized is just to be able to finally be able to give people immediate bookings like we haven't been able to do today. And the biggest reason why is the software that we use today requires a lot of manual processes to build the daily trips for people manually. And the Transit on Demand software does a lot of that automatically. So it just enables the booking and scheduling process of specialized transit trips to happen instantaneously. So that's one of the main reasons why we want to bring this in. Plus, it helps your specialized transit service operate a lot more efficiently as well. So you'd see more efficient bookings and more immediate ability for bookings, which is a big benefit to specialized transit. And something we'd look at with that is maybe specialized transit, if it was operating with the on-demand software, maybe it could hit some of those coverage gaps where we have little pockets in the city that you can't get a conventional bus route in there, but it's not big enough for a full Transit on Demand zone. So good example is Amelia Street. There's a spot there where you could put one transit on demand stop, and if there's a specialized bus in the area, that could pick somebody up, bring them to the nearest transfer hub, kind of thing. So that's also part of the vision, but it's a good advantage to this software for specialized. And then the third phase of what we'd like to do with transit on demand is look at where we can service that gap of where there's no service, either late at night or early morning, because we do have demand there, but it's a very low demand. And transit on demand is perfect for low demand and low ridership. So we may look at trying to help some of the folks in our city get around at those late and early times of day. So I'll just get into MyRide now. So some of the changes that have happened in MyRide in the last year and a half or so is, first, we introduced a sign-in function. So now users can sign in, and MyRide is usable on any device. So you can use it on a home computer or tablet or phone. What you get from the sign-in function is two things. You can sign up for real-time notifications. So when we have service issues, detours, those kinds of things happening around the city, we post it on the news feed, and then you get immediate notifications of what's happening around the city and when. The other thing that you can do in the sign-in is you can set up little reminders and things for yourself. So if you always take the bus at 8 a.m. from a certain bus stop, you can set it up so the bus sends you a message when it's getting near, as opposed to you asking the bus when it's going to be there, the way it works today. So you can literally have your bus contact you when he's getting near, or she. It depends on the bus, if it's a he or she. But the other thing that we utilized as a feature in this MyRide tool to help us with COVID restraints was and I just thought I'd bring this in because it's a really interesting thing. And a lot of transit agencies actually in North America has contacted us about it and thought it was a really great idea. So I thought I'd mention it. Is on our MyRide tool, it can show you a little bar on how many people are on the bus. And pre-COVID, that was set at 50 people. We were able to go into the system and change it to 20 so that people that were out there could see whether the bus was full or not when it was coming to them, so they could help plan their trips better when we had to restrict capacities on our buses. And we still are restricting capacities on our buses. Hopefully not for much longer, but that's still in place. So some of the public health measures that we've taken to help people feel safe and want to still use public transit in our city. Again, the capacity limits that I just mentioned, we limited our conventional buses to 20 passengers, and we've limited our specialized transit buses to 2 passengers, but that also allows for up to 2 attendants to travel. So a max capacity on our specialized buses of 4 people at a time. We have a mask requirement in place. PPE for our bus operators has been provided. There's a barrier beside the bus operators that's helped to, I guess, act as like a sneeze guard. Hand sanitizers have been installed on all our buses. Enhanced bus and facility cleaning has been done and being done. There was a period of time there for, I don't know, almost a year, where we were wiping down buses while in service. We had staff at the terminal wiping down the major touch points on buses when they came into the terminal. We're not doing that today, but we were doing that during lockdowns mainly. We had spaced out seating on the buses, so every other seat has been signed out of service. We've restricted on our full-size buses, the conventional buses, the main transit buses, we've restricted people only being able to enter at the front and exit at the back. We've introduced a scratch fare media instead of the driver having to handle someone's fare media and punch it like they used to. Now the user scratches it in front of the driver and shows it through the barrier, so that's just less kind of hand-to-hand contact of fare media. We have external announcements and internal announcements, just saying some of these, like masks required and things like that, to people before they even get on the buses. And exterior signage, electronic signage, notices, all types of signage to help people be aware of these measures. So that's some of the things that I probably couldn't remember all of them, but those are the main ones. So I'll just hand it over to Julie, because Julie wanted to give you guys an update on our booking software upgrades that we've done with Specialized Transit. And take it away, Julie.
Thank you, Jason. Last year, we updated our Specialized Transit software. This upgrade included updating the interactive voice response system. The IVR system enables clients to better manage their trip bookings. Clients can use the self-serve line to confirm or cancel their upcoming trips. This system also calls the clients to notify them of upcoming trips. The IVR system helps us better manage our busy phone lines, as clients don't need to call in and speak to a booking agent directly. Next slide, please, Jason. By upgrading the IVR software, we were also able to update our scheduling software to the latest version. The enhanced scheduling software has resulted in increasing our service availability, thus reducing our service denials. Next slide, please. As of last week, our Specialized Transit fleet is now all the same vehicle type. The RBUC low-floor buses allow all clients to board regardless of their mobility requirements. Having a fleet of the same vehicle makes it easier for specialized clients to identify their bus when the bus is coming. They only now need to recognize one vehicle type. Clients also need to learn to only board one type of bus. This builds their confidence in accessing the community. This has also improved booking efficiencies, as scheduling is easier when vehicles have all the same vehicle capacities. Next slide, please. Since 2020, our fleet has been equipped with the new incline assist system. The incline assist system allows the operator to guide the client's manual wheelchair in and out of a specialized transit vehicle without having to push or pull the client's mobility device. The incline assist provides a faster, smoother, and safer boarding and deboarding process for our clients who use a manual wheelchair. This system improves the client's experience and enables our clients who use a manual wheelchair to access the community independently, as they don't need to have an attendant to assist them with their boarding and deboarding. Now, 75% of our fleet is equipped with the incline assist system. Thank you.
And just to add on to that too, like, there was two things that we no longer have that some of our senior and people with mobility issues struggled with before were steps into the buses. So some of the buses with steps that you had to walk up into, and then the lifts. I think the lifts worked fine, but they were just, I guess, scary to go up them, right, Julie? Or
it's just with the ramp, clients that have a walker can easily just walk up. The vehicles that were equipped with the lift had the steps, therefore eliminating those two factors provides an easier access for all of our clients.
Yeah, so it was really good. So we're proud of that, basically. So last, just a kind of quick update on seniors fares. So if you're not aware of this, I just wanted to make people more aware. So, we had done some surveys and that type of thing previously. So some things came out of that. One of the things was more people wanted travel training. So we're providing now more travel training to encourage seniors to try to use the transit services and get them out and about. And another thing that came from, surveys and talking to, the senior population is that we saw that the Thursday was the day of the week that seemed to be the most popular for people to go out and about around the city. And so now the city has free service for seniors on Thursdays. And that was implemented about a year ago, a little over a year ago. and it seems to have been doing quite well. So, and then our seniors fares have changed slightly since pre-COVID. So a senior fare is now $3, a monthly pass $52.50, and a 10 ride card $21. And that's all I had for everybody today. So I will I'll leave this to questions.
Jason, when do you expect the fleet to be full of the last one with the ramps?
Oh,
Q
with
drive.
the Q straight?
Yes.
Yeah, the incline
Q
system.
line.
As we retire buses that don't have it, the new buses will have it. So I would expect within 3 years, we'll be at 100%.
I think it's a great idea. Did anybody have any questions? Molly? Molly, you're mute. Molly, you're mute.
I'm unmuted now. I think you're doing wonderful work, especially on the specialized bus system. I used to support people who use that a great deal, and to be able to book more near the time you need it, I think is absolutely wonderful. I had the pleasure of hearing our mayor speak recently at a CART meeting, and I was very disturbed to find that at present there are no washrooms in the Allendale hub. I suspect if I were to be using the bus system, which I do occasionally, I would not be the only person unable to hold it until I get home. So when is there going to be washroom services in that hub, please?
Yes, well, the currently it's a minor hub, so it doesn't have washrooms because it's mainly handled by the Metrolinx, Go Metrolinx, who does have near the train platform, the train platform 1, there are washroom facilities that they have provided outside. But at the Barrie Transit platforms today, there are no washrooms because they're just it's just a kind of a touchdown, because most of the buses that go to Allendale Waterfront Go Station today, 5 minutes later, pull into the downtown terminal where there are washrooms. But the new hub that is being constructed at Allendale will have plenty of washrooms. I can guarantee you that. Yeah.
I'm very relieved to hear it, because by then I'm sure I shall be not driving and using the bus system. Thank you.
Anne Marie, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Jason and Julie. I'm just posting some great information about your updates online and hoping to get some more word out. So really glad to hear that Seniors Thursday free fare has done well over the past year. I'm assuming this is not a pilot. This isn't something this committee needs to further advocate for, that is a go forward commitment.
As far as I know, I don't know of any plans to end it at any time soon.
Great, thank you. And on the information that you provided on the slide, and I was just looking for information online about it around the accessibility supports and use of that technology. I think the Q line, or I wasn't familiar with that that acronym or piece. Part of your slide talked a bit about training. Could you speak more to what training is available, if that's widely known and being utilized, or if we need to help get that information out around planning? I think it was about planning routes.
Julie, you want to talk to the travel training for seniors?
Certainly. Pre-COVID, I did go to Parkview Senior Center. I've gone to the Allendale 55 Plus Center and did the presentation. When we did those surveys, we did several training sessions where people were invited. We had posters everywhere. It went through social media, but it was pre-COVID. We haven't done any presentations since. hopefully as the communities open more and that we're able to go back out and start doing this travel training again, we even bring them at the end of the session, we'll bring them on a bus so that they can experience what it's like. And I think it was successful because people continued to use the service. I mean, we're always available even through the phone. I did a lot of the seniors or the Without Borders that I did some travel training, just explaining how transit works. But it is a lot easier when it's in person because then we can take them out on the bus and they really do know how to do a transfer and then return to where they're going.
And to your question about the incline service or the incline system, that is mainly being the bus operators are being trained on that, or they get trained on that. And so as far as the transit riders, I don't think there's really anything they need to know other than they show up and then the operator will take care of them in getting them on and off the bus with the incline system. So and then the main reason we picked this is because it's versatility, because it's a new product that's come out. I think it only came out about 3 years ago or so by Q-Straint is the company, and it's done really well. So we've been seeing good reviews. Julie, do you have certain feedback that you've gotten you wanted to share?
Sure. I think for the biggest part, it's for the clients that have been able to remain independent and not requiring an attendant to go with them everywhere they go. Trying to propel themselves into a bus, even with a small incline, is not an easy task for many of our clients. So this has been an added feature that helps them board the bus without the operator pushing or pulling and whatnot. And it provides them with a lot of dignity that they're just able to be independent.
That's great. I do have about 3 other questions. Do you want me to hold, Gwen, or can I continue?
I would just let Molly in and then go back to you.
Thank you. Have you considered offering the transit training to the developmentally delayed population?
Julie, do you?
As far as people with cognitive impairments, we can certainly offer travel training to any of them. I do know that there are already organizations out there that provide that type of travel training, but if it was needed, we would be more than happy to provide it.
So they would have to contact you?
Yes, absolutely. Through Serviceberry. I mean, right now we also have the Magnus cards that are available to the cognitive impairment community. It helps them easily learn how to go and buy a bus pass, how to recognize a bus stop. Those do exist now. It is an app that we have added to our service.
Thank you. It's just that I have done a fair amount of that training myself, and I realize the need that exists. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anne Marie?
Thanks. So I'm going to wear my kind of Ward 3 lens a little bit from that geographic area, with Amica being retirement home in that space, as well as being in an area of the medical center. I do get a lot of residents that have questions about transit access, and I'm not sure how well known the transit on demand is. So wondering a little bit about, while you've spoken to, I think, some of the other senior centers, is there a broadening approach to looking at areas where we've seen an increase in senior demographics in the city to do outreach to specifically?
Definitely, part of the Transit Vision project. So we are doing a whole city look at everything to do with areas where there's seniors homes. We get a good example too is up on Amelia Street, up in I think it's Ward 2. But anyways, up in that area, you have a seniors home that is plus 400 meters to a bus stop without a hill. It's under 200 meters to a bus stop with an extremely steep hill. So it's a real geography issue there. So areas like that, or any senior home for that matter, especially if it's senior home, like we have some that are going up in areas where, the justification to run a two-directional heavy traffic, I say it like this because you have to think about conventional bus routes are heavy traffic. A lot of our residents don't want them on their street, right? A lot of times when we implement route changes and then we go onto a street that may not have had conventional bus routes before, we immediately start getting complaints from people not wanting the bus on their street.
Wow.
And so with that, with the vision, we're trying to get the heavy bus routes on the roads that they should be on, the collector residential roads and the arterial roads. But how do we continue to service those areas that are further away from those types of roads, right? So that's where Transit on Demand helps us have a lot more flexibility. And pre-COVID, our plan was part of the reason why we've been ramping up our fleet to have all these shuttle style buses was because they're the perfect buses for Transit on Demand, because they're not as intrusive to the neighborhood. They're more maneuverable. They can get in and out. They only need to take about 10, 15 passengers, right? So the whole plan was, like, we've been ramping up that fleet to have more of those style buses and get rid of all the small vans and things like that would only carry a couple people, so that we could use those vehicles to do more Transit on Demand. But then COVID happened, and then we had to limit capacities to 2 people on those big shuttle buses. And so right now we're providing Transit on Demand in the zone with a large style conventional bus. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the whole idea of getting it into those harder to reach areas of the city with a smaller style bus. So now, as we're seeing COVID restrictions start to lift and things are getting back to some sort of new normal, we can get back to our plan, which was to start providing. So yeah, if it's, I know it's a really long transit answer that you got, but basically, if it's a low demand area that's hard to get a conventional bus route in there, that is our goal. I mean, really, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the buses where and when they need to be there. Through my 11 plus years with the city of Barrie, a lot of things stand out to me over the years of where people, they see a bus going by and it's empty all the time, and they don't like that. They don't like to see an empty bus, right? But transit is a service, and it's like, when the Highway 400 is empty, they don't shut it off, right? It always has to keep running, and so you always have to run it when it may not have the demand. So the flexibility of Transit on Demand is really just kind of bringing the buses in when they need to be there, at the right time in the most efficient way. And so that's why we like it. But again, to that, if an area, if you have feedback, we're very open to feedback. So if you're hearing from your residents and there's something that they're asking for that they want that feedback to be received, I mean, we do have a lot of public surveys and that type of thing that are going out through the Vision Project. But if they're not a part of that, or we miss that feedback and you want to help make sure it gets received, we're more than happy to take that feedback.
So last question, if I may, and that was helpful, Jason. And it doesn't necessarily need an answer. So I'll just share the thoughts that are going through my mind, because I'm looking to appreciate, where does park and recreation and this free transit Thursday for seniors have opportunities or synergies to say, this could be, especially when we're coming up to winter, an area where we can increase accessibility to programming. Is programming slanted towards Thursdays where people might have a better ability to access free transit? There's a lot of assumption in this, but I can't help but think, what is the conversation, if it does happen, between rec programming, facility access, free transit, and service to seniors? I even think about to the mall around in the winter, just having a safe place to walk or be physically active and socialize. But I also think a bit about, how does our programming target individuals that support alignment to when they might be more apt to leverage transit?
It's a great question. And the one thing I don't really oversee is the fares and business side. That's Tyrell. But I can definitely bring that to him and talk to him about that and see what, I know that they're pretty forward thinking I know that they kind of, with the introduction of the free transit on Thursdays, it was more introduced, and then we're just kind of seeing how it goes at this point. And I think they may be hesitant to do too much on that day citywide, because there is only so much capacity that the vehicles can handle, and so many, and we don't want to start saying, you know, go out on Thursday, it's free, but then our specialized transit service says, no, sorry, we can't book your trip because we're booked full, right? So we want to,
Yeah.
we don't want to like promote it and then we can't take you, right? So I think with us moving back to this new normal and the likelihood of capacity restrictions getting lifted, you know, because right now a specialized transit vehicle can only take 2 specialized transit clients. But once that goes away, that will open up more doors for us to look at things like this. And I think it's really well worth looking at to see where we can accommodate better, for sure.
And I
Heather.
lied, and I've got one more question after.
Heather, and then back to Anne Marie. Heather,
There we
unmute.
go. Hi, yes. This is a technical question and you may not have the answer, so don't worry. But I was just wondering if you could tell me what the size restrictions for wheelchairs are with your ramps and your accessible vehicles.
That's all Julie. I'll give that one to her. She's our expert.
All right, awesome.
Hi. Our ramps on our specialized transit vehicles can have a weight of 800 pounds on them, which is relatively the same as on a conventional bus as well. The incline system can pull up to 2,000 pounds. And for most of the mobility devices shouldn't be any wider than 42 inches in width and 30 inches in width and 42 inches in length.
Okay, great.
We can go a little bit longer with the new RBUC buses, as our seating arrangements are different inside, but we try and keep it all the same, because a person who uses specialized transit may also use conventional transit, and our older conventional buses can only have that size device on them.
Mm-hmm. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Back to Anne Marie.
So I'm going to also look at different resources and where this information would be great to post publicly, if not already there. So 211, I just did a quick Google search around Barrie transportation, didn't see anything linked. Also, the North Simcoe Muskoka Health Line. Years ago, we invested in actually updating that with transportation access across the whole region. So if those 2 things are not yet utilized, I would say they're highly sought after databases that the public uses, and it would be great to create a linkage to what you've developed through transit.
Yeah, Julie, are you aware of that?
I'm so sorry. I did not hear any of it. For some
Yeah,
odd
so
reason, it was all cut off on my end. I apologize.
That's okay. Jason, if of benefit, I could send you an email with the 2 links. And
That
then
would
I
be
would
great.
just encourage the city to create a free profile on the health line, and then link it to transportation resources, so it comes up as an option, especially under seniors, as well as 211 will then tie that into the database.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, anything that we're not aware of that we can promote, for sure. And if it was there before and it's not there now, and definitely want to make sure it's in there. That sounds like that's actually really great. Thank you.
Heather, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. Thank you. I just have a question, maybe for Julie or possibly for Jason. One thing that has been beneficial for folks accessing our rec centers are videos that are posted on how to get around and through the recreation centers. Persons with exceptionalities have found that beneficial to be able to go on and view ahead of time on the website and then pay a visit after. Do you have a feature like that, or would you consider something like that on your website?
I know we are in the process of increasing the number of videos with corporate communications. Right now they're working on like a bike rack one on how to use our bike racks. And then Julie has wanted to create one for securement, I think it was, right, Julie?
Well, how to board on conventional transit with a mobility device, how they can secure it themselves, because part of it you can do yourself, or if you wish to have the operator assist, absolutely. And we'll do the same for boarding a specialized transit bus. We're hoping to have those in the next year.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That's all.
Anne-Marie, were you wanting something else?
Sorry, Gwen. Yes, and just I'm a user of the Ping Street app, which is a City of Barrie app where you can note, issues around, this sidewalk is not accessible and take a photo and identify the location, or graffiti, or you can also, I believe, get updates in time around transit. How does the Ping Street app work with the app that's online around your on-demand?
Yeah, currently there's no link within Ping Street to On Demand, because On Demand is an app and it's not a web page like MyRide is. So that has been identified. Right now, we try to encourage folks to download the Transit On Demand app, and then they have to go and find it and download it to use it. And then we're adding a new tab on our main transit page to take people directly into the Transit On Demand information. All our bus stop signs inform people where to go to find the app and that type of thing. But we are working on a way to kind of combine the two, MyRide and Transit On Demand, into one. Because the other thing that we want to do is there's a transit planning tool that you can use on MyRide to help you to get from A to B, basically, right? And it tells you what buses to take. We're trying to figure out a way to combine the two into one, so that you could, like, basically, it would tell you, oh, I got to take bus A to bus B to get to C, and bus C could be TOD, right? So then it could, like, integrate the trip as all one trip. It's just not as easy as it sounds. And so it is part of our goal with the technology to interline the two, so that it's all one in some form, for sure.
And then lastly, is there anything that you need from this committee to help prioritize or identify that there's value to moving aspects of your work plan forward? Is there anything that would be of benefit that aligns to seniors and accessibility? Putting you on the spot there.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is when we have our next round of public information on the Transit Vision Project, to have this committee either encourage some of their members or people they may know to do the surveys. That would really help us exponentially. The more people that we can get to do the surveys, the more information that we can get, the better help us plan moving forward.
Great, thank you, Jason.
Jason, if we knew when you needed these surveys, we could put them out to our CARP members, if that would help.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Once, I don't think it'll be probably until the first quarter of 2022 when we'll be doing that. But once we're at that phase, for sure. Yeah, we'll make sure that you guys are involved, and if you can distribute and get people to do them for us, that would be great.
Yes, I'm sure 55 plus would also. And I just wanted to say Molly was responsible for the Thursday free pass for seniors. So once again, Molly, thank you. Are there any more questions for Jason or Julie?
Yes.
Molly?
I am so glad, Anne-Marie, that you brought up the question of the Little Lake area and the seniors' residence. The first time I used the Little Lake Medical Center, I said, who on earth put a seniors' residence down here when seniors have to walk all the way down from Cundles to get off the bus and all the way back up again? Or we're going to have ferry buses are going to be running. Well, good. I haven't seen them yet. I'm also concerned about the frequency I'm hearing of apps and the use of phones to get information. I happen to live at Victoria Village, We have 71 units here, all seniors. And I know very few people who could use their phone because they don't have that kind of phone and they could never reach an app. So I hope you are considering other ways to reach seniors, because so often it's a question of, oh, well, use your phone. Many of us don't have those kind of phones. Just a thought. Thank you.
Yeah, all our maps, schedules, everything that we produce are created in a printable format. And any of the city staff that that are frontline, mainly at the terminal, are happy to print off, and they do regularly. And they actually have quite a bit of material pre-printed to be able to hand out for people that can't use the technology. We do no longer create the ride guide that used to be in the city for many years. And I think the main reason for that was because we couldn't control what was out there that was most up to date. So when things are changing and evolving citywide, and then someone has information that's outdated, and then they go to try to travel and they get confused and it creates issues. So some of the issues that had occurred in the past were related to outdated people using outdated printed material. So we always encourage, and I know Serviceberry is very willing to help out our senior population with printing or mailing information. We're very flexible to help anybody else with the printed material when required. But again, to touch base on Little Lake, I mean, those types of developments occur, and when they occur, transit isn't always what the developers are thinking about. They ask us when they're, building it, what do you need? And so, well, we need a way to get a bus in and out of there. Little Lake is a dead end road, and there's nowhere to turn around a full size conventional bus anywhere down there. It's not built for, the location itself is not built to accommodate conventional transit service. It needs a way in and a way out. So it's very hard to service that with a conventional service. So that's why it is one of our top targets for transit on demand. Obviously we service it regularly with our specialized transit service, and helps anybody with mobility issues get down into that location. And we encourage anybody with mobility issues to contact us or look at how we can, help better accommodate them through our application process for specialized transit to help them utilize that service to get down there if the walking is hard from, along JC Massey Way. Unfortunately, it's just one of those locations that, the developers have gone in and they've built all this great infrastructure, but for pedestrians and people who need to get in and out of those areas, it's not so easy. It's classic like Barrie development where it's built for people with a car, and so we have to work around those kinds of things. It's very common in this city that, in my 11 plus years, where things get built and then then we get asked, transit, how are you going to get in there? And I was like, well, we told you from the get-go we were not going to be able to go in there. And so that's why now we're very forward in our feedback towards new developments. The development in the south end of Barrie is a good example of that. We've already identified the roads we're going to service one day with conventional routes. We've already identified where the bus stops are going to be. So then when they go to build these neighborhoods and these new developments, we already have a plan on how we're going to service it. So we're getting ahead of things a lot better than we used to, but there are still those areas like Little Lake that cause us difficulties.
Any final thoughts? Molly? Go ahead, Henry.
I have one. Jason and Julie, love to have a further conversation, but I guess I'll leave it with a comment. Could retirement homes be identified as a key stakeholder group where there's specific outreach to? Because while I know Serviceberry, and I've got a lot of respect for the staff team and everything that they triage and deal with, you know, I still see seniors who can't wait to kind of get a request in and then get something mailed 3 days later. It doesn't really match up from a time sensitive approach. And I was wondering about if there was any benefit to outreach to retirement homes to the staff to make sure the staff are aware of how to use the services and to make technology available in time for anyone that's looking at planning a route. So there's less barriers around access to information.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe it can happen on site.
yeah. Well, like in the past, it was always done more request based. You know, if a retirement home requested it, we would set up, and you know, me and Julie presented in front of mainly Julie. She does it a lot more than I do, but we've presented in front of you know, residents. You know, I think the last one we did was Amelia Strait, probably near the end of 2019. So none of it's really been happening for a long time. And we actually really enjoy getting out there and talking to the folks, and we bring printed material for them and help them better understand everything. And so, yeah, I think, you know, we'd be happy to reach out to the Little Lake and see if they want us to come in, for sure. But again, if you hear from any other location, and I think maybe, you know, or I definitely think moving forward, we're going to try to get back to where we were, where we just kind of went out and contacted places and asked them if they wanted us to come, for sure. Did you have more to add to that, Julie? I know you're the expert more than I am.
No, as you mentioned, we enjoy going in and talking with the people, discussing their issues, accessibility. What can we do more for you? What are your ideas? So, you know, as COVID slowly, hopefully comes to an end, I'm hopeful that all this can start again. I work with nursing home and retirement communities even now, to make sure that people can still access the community. They go into a nursing home, they can still go out and do the things that they enjoyed before. So we always try and keep that in mind and make sure people understand how to use transit, both specialized and conventional.
I have a thought. A lot of people change their phones every 2 years. What if we could get them to donate their phones, because they would be able to have apps placed on them that we could then in turn give to seniors so they could use your apps? What if we could have the city promote something like that?
It sounds like a great idea. I don't know how that, I mean, that would be a question for our IT group, to see how they may be able to assist in something like that. And I could definitely reach out to them for you if that's what, you know, and present that question to them.
Is that a reasonable request? What do people think?
I'm not fully sure, like, because again, I don't know that side of the processes with the city. Are you talking about city staff phones that are retired, or
I'm just thinking the population in general, especially the younger population, changes their phones every couple of years, so they have the latest and best. But the phones they're not using would be quite capable of having the apps that maybe could be reused with the seniors that need the app for transportation. That was just a thought.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's a great thought, and maybe that's something we bring in our waste management people on board about, you know, because I'm sure they're looking for ways to reuse a lot of technology that usually probably just gets thrown away, you know, and there's probably good uses for it, for sure.
Thank you. Are there any last thoughts, Anne Marie? I want to thank you, Jason and Julie, very much for joining us today. A lot has changed since the last time you presented to our organization, and we really appreciate it today. I know I learned a lot. So thank you once again. We really appreciate your being here today.
No problem. I noticed there's a Lucia hand up. Was there another
Oh,
question?
Lucia,
there?
she's not on the screen.
Yes, hi. Oh, I should be. I'm just, my zinnia's there. It's a hair up glasses on day, so I'm not on camera. Just to the point that you were saying, Gwen, CNIB has a Phone It Forward program where people can donate their old phones to people and they can get trained with how to use their phones. So if there are seniors out there with sight loss, they can acquire a used phone and get training on how to use it. So if there are any that are still well and able-bodied to use the public transit, we encourage that. A lot of them, though, are quite a bit older. But just to your thought there, Gwen, there are, I think, various phone donation programs now. So if that's what you were sort of mentioning, I thought I'd add that in.
That's great. I'll have to investigate that. Thank you. One last round, is that it? All right. Again, thank you for being here today. And we look forward to the 100% queue line. I think that is a wonderful idea because I know people who have had problems with it. And also with the ramp being able to hold, what do you say, 600 pounds, 800 pounds?
800.
Yeah, and no attendant. That's great because I have one individual case where it's a rather large person and her wheelchair is 250 pounds to accommodate her. And with an attendant, she was oversized for the ramp. So something like that really stands out to me. So great news, great to know. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, well done. And if there's anything, I'm just thinking about this, sorry, Gwen, if there's anything you want me to have as a bit of a script, I'd be happy to make an announcement at council tonight. So at least there's another kind of public access to information about maybe highlighting where to find information and an update about the queue line as a new resource.
That would be great. More people we reach, the better.
You know, and something that came to mind too is that we don't really have any information on the incline system on our website. So it's definitely worth adding. You know, it's we're always working on getting all these things added or improved, and we don't always show them as much as we should. So I think it's worthwhile getting up.
Jason, do you need us to be identifying the importance of that to help get that escalated through to communications as an addition? Or do you think that's well in hand?
Oh, we got it. Yeah, we'll get them to get it up. That's no problem. Yeah, I think for us, we were just thinking about how much it'll help us with some of the booking agents that are booking issues that we have with, with certain people can only take a certain vehicle, and it really limited their travel because they could only take the bus with the lift. And if that bus was booked, they couldn't go out, right? And so now, just having that fleet, all the fleet the same with the incline system almost on every bus. And keep in mind, before, I think the lift was only on 2 buses, right, Julie?
Yes.
And so if you couldn't get up the ramp yourself, you had to get a lift bus. And so now we're 75% with the incline system that is almost, so that's almost on every bus now. And then our goal is to have it on every bus. So we have that versatility to really be able to accommodate anyone with any type of mobility issue on every single vehicle. So we're almost there.
Molly, looks like you had one last thing.
It is the last thing. Anne-Marie, going to council, do you think it might be a good idea to suggest before building permits are given, especially for medical places, that they be considered whether or not people can get there?
I don't disagree. Let's you and I have a chat and maybe bring this to an agenda here for fuller conversation too, but I'll poke around and see what I can find out.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us, Julie and Jason. If you'd like to hang around to hear Colin Green speak about the Gilbert Center, we'd love you to stay. And we welcome Colin today. Colin, would you go
Uh,
ahead?
Actually, Gwen, it's going to be Evan McCraney, from the program coordinator at
Okay.
Gilbert Center.
Welcome, Evan. Would you like to
Thank you.
intro?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Colin. Thank you to everyone for having me here today. I'm going to take about 10-15 minutes to highlight Gilbert Center's 2S LGBTQ plus seniors programming. I'm going to start sharing my screen here. There we go. Okay, so I use he, him pronouns, and my contact information is available there. I will show it again at the end. I encourage anyone to get in touch with me if they know of people who require the type of services that we offer, or just have other questions that may come up for you after today. I will encourage a Q&A at the end of the presentation. So this is just a little bit of a rundown of what we're going to be talking about today. So Gilbert Center and New Horizons, many of you may not have heard about New Horizons and how Gilbert Center is a part of this partnership. I will explain who is involved in it, what programs and services we offer. The impact of COVID-19 was a huge one, I know, across so many different levels of life, and you know, presented challenges, also afforded us a few victories, and talking about how technology has impacted our programming. The pressures that we faced in supporting seniors, especially throughout COVID, new opportunities and ways to provide support, and then a Q&A will follow. So what is New Horizons? Gilbert Center is the backbone agency in the New Horizons for 2S LGBTQ plus older adults. The program consists of 6 agencies throughout Central and Northern Ontario. It's the largest partnership in Canada to provide programming to this population. We were guaranteed 5 years of funding provided by the federal government. So our grant takes us through till 2024. So we have you know, guaranteed programming in place for 2S LGBTQ seniors until then. The goal of our program is to reduce social isolation and increase a sense of personal well-being in participants. We know that COVID as well increased social isolation, especially for older adults. And Indigenous inclusion and cultural safety are integral to our program. That has created a great learning opportunity for those of us who are not Indigenous, and has taught us ways to move forward with more inclusive programming. So the partnership consists of the 6 agencies. Gilbert Center and Mamaway cover the Simcoe-Muskoka area. North of us, we have the AIDS Committee of North Bay and area and the North Bay Indigenous Hub. So those are both North Bay and area. And up in Sudbury and area, we have Reso Access Network and the Ontario Aboriginal HIV and AIDS Strategy. So each region, so we cover Simcoe-Muskoka, North Bay, and Sudbury. Each region has a seniors program coordinator or older adults worker. And there is a Two-Spirit partnering agency in each region. So there's a Two-Spirit outreach worker in most cases. Within Simcoe-Muskoka, we have a Two-Spirit worker who will be doing some outreach, but will also be focusing on education with our Safer Spaces program. So it's sort of a 2-2-2 across 3 regions. Each one has sort of a mirrored program. And the way it was set up pre-COVID was that each region would sort of run our own programming. that would be similar, but not necessarily identical. And with COVID, we sort of had to pivot a little bit. We now come together to create programming as a team of 6 workers. And what we currently offer is 2 weekly social and support groups. So almost all of our programming is still virtual. We haven't felt the need to expose vulnerable clients to the possibility of COVID transmission. We're currently working through our vaccine policy for when we do return to in-person programming. So anyway, like I said, most of it's virtual. We have 2 weekly social and support groups. So that's 2.5 hours provided every week for those who wish to participate. We have an evening one and a morning one to accommodate various schedules. Some of our participants do still work. They go into work. They're not available during the day. So we like to have 2 separate options so that we can increase the number of participants who are able to join us. We provide monthly bingo and game nights, also virtual. We have bi-monthly educational webinars, which they tend to focus on topics such as health concerns, things like last year we did or not last year, it's still this year, January, we did a cannabis workshop. So cannabis use for older adults, that was pretty well attended. And so basically we take client input and figure out what it is that they need to enrich their lives. So last month we had a webinar about dementia and the aging mind. And the way that being 2S LGBTQ also adds to the impact of those things. We have book club events, also virtual at this point. Our one in-person group currently, we have a walk and talk group. So every month, because Simcoe Muskoka is such a large area, we rotate our walking group between 3 areas. So one month we'll have it in Barrie, the next month we'll do Aurelia, the next month we'll do Bracebridge, to try and, again, space ourselves out so that folks have an opportunity to attend something that is sort of in their own backyard, but also if they're able to travel, then they're welcome to come to whatever group they'd like. We have an advisory committee being created, which will also provide peer leadership opportunities. It will give seniors a way to have a voice in their own programming. And we also do provide peer leadership opportunities in our social and support groups. If somebody wants to bring a topic to the table, they're welcome to lead the group. We are facilitators, not teachers. So, you know, we facilitate them in whatever ways they're comfortable. Some of them have brought presentations to group, and we find that there's a lot more engagement when it's actually peer-led. We provide one-on-one support via telephone or Zoom at this point. When we're back, I actually haven't been back to the office since the first shutdown, but when that is safe to do so and we feel that need, one-on-one support will also be available in person. I have done some sort of outdoor in-person one-on-one sessions when the weather's been nice, but with the weather turning again, it's nice to be able to have that virtual outlet. We also provide referrals to outside agencies and Indigenous modeled sharing circles. So that provides an opportunity for vulnerability, for a little bit of community building, which really are the focuses of our group. Community building is a really big one. I find that people, especially in such large areas and rural areas, they don't find places to meet other 2S LGBTQ folk. And so creating that network sort of creates a bit of a circle of care. It's community supporting community, which is sort of a lovely idea, in my opinion. Plan for 2022, return to all bodies swim program. We will be meeting myself and our youth program coordinator. We'll be meeting Jessica actually later today to discuss a safe return to the all bodies swim program. I know a lot of seniors have been asking about it and are really excited to get back to that. Monthly grilled cheese lunches to provide in-person socialization. And there is a storytelling workshop series in planning that will involve a local to us LGBTQ author to teach older adults how to tell their stories, whether it's through storytelling verbally or through writing short stories and sort of doing a memoir series. So we've got that. And getting back to the technology issue, we are creating a technology lending program. So there have been some agencies that have provided us an opportunity to get free devices. So unfortunately, they're not phones. They're not devices that have app capabilities, but they are, they create an ability to connect to video calls. So basically, they're called Echo Shows. And they're basically a little video pod that you can sit on your table, your desk, whatever, that will easily connect somebody to things like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, any sort of video chat platform for people who don't have access to that. And so we will be able to distribute devices directly to participants in community for them to keep. We will also hold some back and keep them as a lending library. So people can sign them out for 2 weeks if they know that that's something that they're going to need to use and then return them. There has been a promise of iPads, of those being available. We're not quite sure when that's going to happen, if it is, but that will also add, again, not a phone, not a phone for apps, but at least something like a tablet will be able to have apps. So for things like transit on demand, that's something that that could work for people. So that is in process, and all of these programs are available across the New Horizons platform. So they don't just happen in Barrie, they don't just happen in Simcoe, Muskoka, but they're happening right across the province from Central Ontario north. So yeah, we've had a lot of opportunities to have collaborative programming. And so that's where COVID comes in. The move to virtual programming was certainly a daunting one, especially with an older population that we're serving. Challenges included reduced participation numbers due to technology, the barriers that can provide, and lower rates of this population being on social media. So, a lot of folks get their information from places like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, things like that. And older adults tend to be on that less. And when they are on platforms like Facebook, they don't necessarily know what to look for or how to find exactly what they need. And so I should mention that with our technology lending program, there will also be a series of webinars on using technology effectively. So for people with hearing impairments, there will be a webinar about how to best utilize your device, how to optimize your device for various challenges or disabilities. So people with vision impairments, they'll have a separate webinar to teach them how to set up their device for their particular needs. And another challenge that COVID brought was increased isolation. I mean, it's a population that is already quite isolated, especially again across this geographical area. And COVID really amped that up. So I've found that parts of the population sort of increased their isolation, they increased their self-isolation. They didn't really want to attend things, whereas others were really reaching out and acknowledging their need to stay connected. So some of the victories of COVID have included the ability to reach many participants across regions. It really created a network for community, including engagement from outside of Ontario. So we have actually several participants in our weekly groups who join us from Winnipeg. We've had people from the Maritime provinces join us. We have regular participants from the Niagara region. So it's really shown us that community can reach out across geographical borders in that way to increase community building. So it also provided the ability to work collaboratively with the New Horizons team. So I actually don't work with a lot of folks from the Gilbert Center on a regular basis. Most of my interactions for work are with the New Horizons team. So again, the 6 staff that are a part of that team, we meet at least twice weekly to check in with each other on our programming, to create new programming, develop policies and procedures, things like that. So it's really allowed us to have more robust programming than if, say, I were just to work solo from an office in Barrie. You know, having input of 6 people versus 1 person really gives a great perspective. It allows us to work within our strengths. So for myself, for example, I'm not super great with technology. So we have somebody on our team of 6 who is really knowledgeable about that stuff, and it allows us to share our strengths with each other and build our own personal and professional way of working. Technology has presented a challenge in form of Zoom fatigue. I know that a lot of us have been facing that. You know, we were prepared for a 2-week lockdown, and we're on what, month 19, I think. And people are just tired of being in front of their screens. We understand that. We are as eager as participants to get back to in-person programming, but we also want to make sure that it's safe for people. So there's been a little bit of an engagement decrease over the months of COVID. We find that it's also a little bit seasonal. In the summer, people want to be outside and they want to be active and doing stuff. So virtual programming dipped a little bit over the summer, but it also allowed us to have our walking group. So, you know, there have been some ups and downs throughout for sure. Pressures faced in supporting seniors. Yes, one has been the push from community to return to in-person meetings. And again, that's something that we're obviously sensitive to, but also not going to push, you know, just because it's, you know, it's not only an emotionally vulnerable population, it's also a physically vulnerable population. So again, risk mitigation is an issue. The building of community resources and referrals, there was a big pressure, especially at the beginning of COVID, to find ways to keep people connected to what they needed, whether that be outside mental health resources, whether that be, you know, doctor's appointments, vision appointments, things like that. So, you know, it's been an ongoing building of resources and reaching out to other agencies for partnerships, for referrals, things like that. And we've noticed that direct outreach has become more crucial to capacity building. So we're trying to reach participants not necessarily only through social media, you know, emails, things like that, but we need to have more direct outreach to reach those in the population that are not aware that we exist. So it's going to be reaching out to places that aren't necessarily geared towards specific 2S LGBTQ plus populations. But, you know, this population uses resources in the same way that non-2S LGBTQ plus folk do. And so it's just a matter of making those connections, of creating those partnerships and the awareness of our programming. So things like today are really appreciated opportunities for us to let people know in the community what we're up to. New opportunities presented by COVID. It allowed us to reimagine program delivery as a collaborative team, as I mentioned. So it's not just one person, it's a team of 6 bringing all of our ideas to the table and creating something bigger, I believe, than what would have been possible before COVID. It's allowed an increase in opportunities for participants to engage virtually. Every week we have, not just our 2 groups that they can choose from, but also, within those weeks, we have the bingo nights, we have book clubs, we have the walks. So, it's not just even once a week. They have multiple opportunities every week to engage with our programming. And with it being virtual, some of it they can not even have to be at a set time. They can log on to our Facebook, see what's up. They can log into the website. There are lots of ways for them to engage. The Zoom revolution has meant a collective move towards reimagining programming. It's made us get creative in ways that we didn't think we'd ever have to. It's created new partnerships, and it's helped us engage remote communities. So, people might not have a vehicle, might not have access to things like public transit. And so we have been able to sort of get into the homes, so to speak, of people who have needed our services and wouldn't otherwise be able to access them. So due to that, I'm gonna just hop to the last point there. We will continue providing virtual programming in addition to in-person programming. So once we have in-person programs, our program will grow exponentially, basically, because we are maintaining all of our virtual programming to maintain that accessibility, but also open up in person. And it's really highlighted the value of community care and peer engagement. Seniors want to be active in their own communities. They want to have a voice in what is being created, what is being offered to them. And it's been actually a bit of a, I hate to say that COVID has been a positive, but for this program, it really has helped us to reimagine the ways that we can better serve 2S LGBTQ plus older adults. Oh, I don't know what happened. Did we miss a slide there? Nope, that was it. So I'm going to put a slide with my contact information back up just for a minute. And I invite questions. I'm going to take this down in a minute because it's hard for me to see everyone. So stop that. Colin is also a great touch point. If anyone wants to be in touch with me, Colin can definitely connect you to me after today.
Evan, it's Gwen.
Hi.
I love the idea of the storytelling. I think it would raise empathy and therefore acceptance, and could be a good tool to be used.
Yes, thank you. The goal of it ultimately, if we have enough engagement with the program, is to create a sort of, we could self-publish a little book about their experiences, if that's something that participants are interested in. I think history is an important piece that this age group especially can offer to those coming up, the younger generations, and storytelling has proven to be a real community builder. It helps us to feel connected with each other, to share our stories and our struggles and our victories. So yeah, I'm really excited for it. So thank you, Gwen.
I was thinking in the context of even a recording, if people are not willing to do it in person. For instance, I could have something at one of our CARP member meetings.
Yes, we did participate in an event with Midland Public Library, where they had what is called a human library. and it allows youth to come in and ask the seniors some questions, hear their stories, and sort of use them as a resource for learning. And that was a really great opportunity as well. So, you know, I know there are a lot of them that love getting involved in things like that, and you know, jump at the chance when they get to share their stories. So if anyone is interested in, you know, in having one or two of them join a group or create a partnership, I'm happy to talk about things like that further.
Thank you. Anne-Marie, oh, sorry. Anne-Marie and then Heather.
Sorry, Heather, I leapfrogged you there. I'll send an email to maybe follow up on some next steps. So I also sit as the chair of the Alzheimer's Society of Simcoe County, and I know it was really lovely to see the workshop that you provided. I'd love to do some direct outreach to you around other pieces. I'm not sure if gardening is a piece. I've been active in that, and we've sponsored some plots for different community groups. I'm also hoping to offer that as an example for the Alzheimer's Society Minds in Motion, but as a tool to bring people together. So I love to see if there's anything I can support in any way around programming and bringing attention to that. But I was wondering if there was anything in particular you felt that the city could take a different initiative on. One idea is I'm starting to have and look to have conversations about what is our committee structure. So we've got a new municipal term coming up in a year. What are those structures and mandates that are important for us to have? And I think in one municipality, they're even having an all resident themed committee to make sure that their voices of residents representing different interests, experiences, and it's not necessarily just subject specific topics or demographic specific topics. And so I'll plant that to kind of see if it resonates, if it brings up any ideas you have in general. But how do we actually create a forum of community conversation that is maybe broader in representation, if you feel that's not happening?
No, I appreciate that. And for example, the Aurelia Age-Friendly community set up a specific 2S LGBTQ+ forum as an opportunity for this population to have their voices heard. So I don't necessarily believe that specific 2S LGBTQ+ committees need to be formed for everything that happens, but I definitely believe that it's important to engage that community by, you know, saying, look, we'd like to have one or two specifically 2S LGBTQ+ people on this committee. It doesn't have to be solely those from people from that population, but making sure that their voices are included. I'm happy to support any city initiatives, any other agencies that have initiatives that are looking to increase their diversity on committees, things like that. Like I said, I always have people who are willing to step up to the plate and get involved in different initiatives, regardless of what they focus on. But you know, in increasing the engagement and having a sort of a voice at the table, so to speak. You know, I think diversity is key when we set up things like committees and advisory boards, things like that. So again, I'm happy to be in touch with anyone who would like to see how that can work, create new partnerships moving forward. I know with the city of Barrie, eventually we'll be looking at things like all bodies yoga, different ways to engage people. And I know that people who were involved in the all bodies swim pre-COVID are super excited to get back to it. That has been something that has come up almost monthly, asking when can they go swimming again. You know, it's something that is also inclusive of all ages. Abilities are considered. It's something that is physically accessible for most people. as well, it's it's financially accessible for most of them as well. So programs like that have really strengthened our presence in the community. Gilbert Center is located in Barrie, but we're still trying to branch out, because we do serve all of Simcoe Muskoka, trying to branch out and create partnerships outside of Barrie as well, to increase engagement and reduce isolation. So
That's great. Yeah. Thanks for all
Heather,
your work.
Yeah,
sorry.
thank you. Yes, thank you very much. You've partially answered my question, because it was with regards to older adults in the community and expanding in-person programming. You mentioned about client-centered programming. In other words, you touch base with your clients first to see where their interest is. Is there any further recreation programming that the Parkview or Allendale 55 plus centers can engage with you and with the New Horizons projects? For instance, just adding like your walk and talk, walk, talk, and social, where they stop at one of the centers and have a coffee, or a barbecue, for instance. Parkview does barbecues. Those kinds of areas, just those are things that I've, like a games night or bingo night specific for the New Horizons project, that could be incorporated into one of our centers. Is this something of interest? Have they?
oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It's we're just starting to look at what our in-person programming is going to look like.
Yeah.
It's still probably a couple months away before we actually get to it. So no, some of these suggestions are great. They are, absolutely not off the table.
Okay.
Any way that we can create engagement. I would love to have some sort of weekly social event happening, beyond just our regular social support groups, that people can attend. And right now we're working on capacity building, increasing the number of participants in our program. So I'm really hopeful that by the time sort of, spring hits and we can have things like barbecues and, more leisurely outdoor events, that we will have those numbers of
Yeah.
from this community to be able to do things like that, and be able to do things like table at Pride events, so that, we can get the word out physically, and have flyers and tables set up, and things like that. So really hoping that things go that way come the springtime. So like I said, we're spending the next couple months sort of reimagining how our program is going to look yet again, once we can add that in-person element. So
Fantastic.
thanks for those suggestions,
we'll
Heather.
be in touch. Yeah. So as Jess had mentioned, I don't know if you caught that at the beginning, that as of November 1st, I'll be taking on the seniors role. And we found out Thursday afternoon. But first on my list of questions to our manager, when he met with me on Thursday afternoon, I said, this is an area that I would like to develop the LGBTQ2S+ older adult programming within the center. So certainly from a managerial or supervisor, there's support there to continue to expand on that. So I'll
Excellent.
send you my email.
Perfect. I would love to sit down with you and see what we can come up with. So
no worries, Evan. I'm not going far. I'm just going to the East Bayfield Community Center as a community programmer now. So that's going to open up a whole lot of all bodies opportunities.
Yeah.
Excellent. Sounds great.
Yeah. Parkview doesn't have a swim pool, but where we do. And yes, COVID did stop a lot of those targeted group expansion of programming for recreation, and including social programming. So this is exciting. When I saw your name on the agenda today, and Jess had invited me, I guess with that idea that this would be a good opportunity to meet.
Great. No, I look forward to connecting with you, Heather. Thank you.
Okay.
Do we have any further questions? Heather.
Hi, not really a question. I just wanted to say, Evan, I took down your email address and I want to connect up with you too, just to see if there's ways that Red Cross can support your clients, let you know what we offer, what we do, to see if there's partnerships that we can have.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is that it? No further questions for Evan or Colin? Oh, Molly has one.
Not a question really, Evan, but your presentation delights me. I lost one of my dearest friends through the tragic AIDS epidemic of decades ago. I'm that long in the tooth, as is obvious to many. I have heard of so many seniors in your population that have gone back in because they cannot get the services that they need. And to me, that makes me want to weep, because why should any population be denied the services that are available to others? It just makes me angry. I have a mid-50s son who is gay, and I'm glad to know that things are changing and will continue to change, especially for the seniors, because they have been left out, and nobody in our society in this day and age should be left out, regardless of what their sexual orientation or their religious orientation or any other kind of orientation. We're all human beings here, and we all have feelings, and we deserve to have them recognized. So thank you for all you are doing and your organizations.
Well said.
Thank you, Molly.
If there are no other questions, I would just like to say thank you very much to Evan for enlightening us today. Thank you for calling. I'm sure you arranged this. And I just wanted to ask Jessica if she knows of anything that is coming up at 55 plus.
Hey, Gwen, coming up in regards to what?
Well, any of the things we talked about today.
So we have worked with transit on and off through COVID and before COVID in regards to transit training. We've also been an advocate of the Free Thursday and work to advertise that through our channels and always have, and I'm sure that Heather will continue that as well. You know, as Evan mentioned, I'm meeting with Evan this afternoon in regards to the all bodies opportunities, and I'm sure that Heather will connect with Evan shortly in regards to in-person programming, because we are back in person, but we understand that there are you know, some of the screening processes and so on can be hurdles. So as we're already seeing within the senior centers, that it's not an easy process. So I'm sure that as we continue to grow the programming and move forward, we will see additional opportunities present themselves.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that at our November meeting, we will have prevention of seniors abuse and ageism, the food bank, and also, I believe, Simcoe County Association servicing regarding the age-friendly. I think Brandy will confirm that, and she will send out an invitation to the next meeting. Donna also mentioned that she sent us all a chart, the Seniors Advisory Committee planning document that she would like people to fill out regarding possible upcoming presentations that we would like. So I would ask you to have a look and give that a thought. Did anybody have anything they wanted to add? we're all set. Well, I want to thank everybody for attending. Yes, Anne-Marie, I'd love to touch base with you. Evan, you can reach me, barry@carp.ca. And thank you, everybody, and a special thanks to Brandy. And I promise I will sign on early next time and have all the kinks worked out.
It's okay. Like I said, over the phone on the weekend, we got you.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Have a good day and keep your sweaters on. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for sharing.